Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to share some tales from production about largely the product design of our newest game, and I'll show you the final version, Origin Story. This is a 1 to 5 player competitive, trick-taking, tableau building, and engine building game designed by me and Pete Wissinger. And this game has been a long time coming, but I really love how the product turned out. The art is by Clémentine Campardou, who did the art for Wormspan, and her art, actually, her superhero art was the inspiration for me reaching out to her originally many years ago to ask if she would ever consider illustrating a superhero-themed game for Stonemaier Games. And this is what we ended up with, Origin Story. So I have two versions of the game to show you here. One is the final version. That'll feel a little bit more like an unboxing video. And one is the version that led up to the final version. And let's start with the box. The box, one vision I had for the box was that in the theme of the game, you are telling your story of becoming a superhero or potentially a supervillain over the course of the game through a tableau building element. You're putting cards on the table while you're playing tricks throughout the game. And so I wanted the cover art for the game to kind of reflect what a multi-panel origin story might look like for a character. But ideally, I wanted there to be more than one box for the game, all in one box. There's some games that have come out where you can choose from multiple boxes for the game. But I thought, what if there's a way that we can build two different box covers into the same box? And so we did. On the front of the box, you have this one character's origin story, and on the back of the box, you have another character's origin story. However, the issue I ran into was when I talked to my team about this, specifically the members of my team that deal directly with retailers. They gave me the feedback that they thought that that retailers would have a harder time selling the game if they can't quickly find the components list and a brief summary of the game on the back of the box. It is instead on the side of the box over here, but they strongly recommended that we put it specifically on the back of the box. And so what we came up with was, I'll pull it out. I think it's in this other box here. If I don't find it quickly, I'll show you later in the video. I don't think it's in. Oh, here it is. What we came up with was a back of the box sheet of paper that has that information on it, that kind of reflects part of the top of the box, but has all that information, that important information about what's inside the game. On the back here, a brief story, a summary of what the game is, showing some of the components for the game, and having a components list. This piece of paper will be under the shrink wrap of the final version of the game, or it is under the shrink wrap, and there's a little touch of glue that'll be right in the middle. This glue is designed to easily be pulled away. It won't leave a mark or anything like that. And so we added this based on the feedback from my team members to the back of the box. And so after you remove it, the back of the box will look like what I just showed you there. One of the issues, though, another issue that we ran into for the original box, this box, is that it was a little bit too small. And this is a smaller box. It's smaller than the Rolling Realms box. I don't know if you can see it compared to the size of my head here. It is a smaller box. I wanted to have a fairly compact box if possible. But it was just a little bit too short. And so let's see if I can show you a height comparison between the final box and this one. We added about a centimeter, maybe 8 millimeters. See if we can line that up there. Not perfect alignment, but you can tell that the final box is taller, not substantially, but taller than the original version of the box. Let's see what else was different here. So basically, we got this version of the game. This is the pre-production version. It looks very close to the final version, but it's a pre-production version. We get this version, we test it to make sure how everything fits. We also test the components. We play with them to see how they play. One of my coworkers plays a game with it without really knowing the rules very well at all, maybe not ever even having played the game, to see how well the rules come through. And so he had some good suggestions for the rulebook that we added to the rulebook. We also realized that a few things didn't quite fit into the box as well as we hoped. So these are the stamina tokens in the game. They look like kind of little speech bubbles. These are what you use to charge up the abilities in your tableau. I found that they were just a little bit too big for the cards, and even they took up a little bit too much space in the box. So we ended up reducing the size of them a little bit, but this is the original size of those tokens. The one little thing that I'll show you, this was a product design decision, is that you have all the cards that you're building your tableau with. They look like this. These are the story cards in the game. They look like this. These are kind of the engine building cards in the game. These are a different size than the trick-taking cards in the game, as are the event cards are also a different size. These are the same size as the story cards. But the playing cards in the game, they look like this. The playing cards are a different size. So here, I'll hold up 1 to 1. And this was by design. This was an intentional product design for two reasons here. One is we wanted these to be kind of a standard playing card size, while these are the wingspan size cards, these tableau building cards. And also just to physically differentiate these two types of cards in terms of the size, to avoid even the small possibility that maybe the cards will get shuffled together in the wrong place. So that is an intentional decision. Joe, my coworker who reviewed the pre-production copy before sending it to me for review and to play with the members of the team here in St. Louis, he noted that this icon needed to be, so this is the strength icon. It's meant to be a fist. And it is a fist, but it also kind of looks like a human heart because the lines in it, the white lines, are really faint. So we made those lines a little bit bolder. And then Joe had some notes about the number 7 in the game compared to the number 1. Let's see if I can find a number 1 card here. The cards are numbered 1 through, yeah, here we go. The cards are numbered 1 through 13. And so in the pre-production version of the game, the 1s and the 7s are pretty similar to one another. I can see how they could be mistaken if they're not side by side. And so we added a little bit more to the 1 in the final version. I'll show you that in a moment to help better differentiate it. What else do we have in here? I don't think we changed much about the player mats. Actually, no, we did change a subtle thing. The player mats in the pre-production copy, there are 5 different player mats on which you'll be building your tableau. And I always like to have rounded corners on things because it means, I don't know, I think it's makes them feel a little refined, and it leads to a lower chance of them being dented. They are, in this one, they are not rounded in the pre-production copy, so we needed to round them a little bit. And I think that was the main thing that we changed in terms of the player mats. The biggest thing, other than maybe the box, that we struggled with and had to find a fix for were the alignment dials here. So the alignment dials, they're a major component of the game. They serve 2 purposes. One, they keep your score. And so either way you flip these, they will always show your score. And 2, every round of the game is a 5-round trick-taking game, you need to declare your alignment. You either declare yourself a hero for that round, and in which case you're trying to win tricks, you'll gain 1 victory point per trick, or you're declaring yourself a villain for that round, and in that case you're trying to win 0 tricks. You reveal that simultaneously with all players at the beginning of each round. So they serve those 2 purposes. I like that dual purpose. But the dial needs to work well. And this dial, it was really thick. It seemed unnecessarily thick. And so that added to how much room, or the lack of room in the box for the components. And also the dials were a little tough to turn. And even in the final version, I would say they're a little more difficult to turn than I would hope for. But you can see they have a smooth rounded edge. We added a jagged edge to the final version to make that easier to turn. Also, crucially, in this version, the dials were so close together, you can't really see it here, but the dials are so close together that sometimes turning this dial could turn the other dial as well. You can kind of see that here, just a tiny bit. And so we needed to get them separated just enough so that turning one dial wouldn't accidentally turn the other dial. I'll clean this up later, but that's everything in the pre-production copy of the game. Oh, here's the rulebook itself. We have the rulebook in here. The rulebook did go through some changes after Joe playtested the PPC. Let's look at the final version of the game. I already showed you the box a little bit. This is a bigger version of the box, but it has the same effect. Again, this is not in shrink wrap. So the shrink wrap version from the outside will have that piece of paper back here that shows part of this and the components list, the rules summary, things like that. So the things that I just described to you have changed. For example, the dials, you can now see there is a jagged edge there. Hopefully you can see that, making it just a little bit easier to turn. The dials are also a little bit thinner. They didn't need to be as thick as they were, so we made them thinner. That's part of it. The cards, let's pull out the cards here. And I'll show you, let me show you how tight. So this box is a tight fit. It's a tight fit. I will be upfront and transparent about that. Everything fits in the box very nicely in a few bags, but it is a legitimately tight fit, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have your shelf space is important to us. So a big part of this product design was that it didn't take up too much room on your shelf while still being a really big game. There's a lot of game in this box. The playing cards. Yeah, let me show you the difference in the playing cards. I also mentioned the stamina tokens. See the stamina tokens. You can barely even tell that they're smaller. They just, you know this because I'm telling you that they are a little smaller. Also, in your copy, you will probably get an extra set of these, the plastic things that you put on the dials. That's just in case you lose one, or if there's a mispacking issue and if you're lacking one, then you actually have the right number. That's why we sometimes include extra components. You'll have to be pretty careful when you assemble the dials. There are instructions in the rulebook, and you'll need to follow them pretty closely to make sure the dials go in the right place. If it doesn't work out, you can pop out that little pin with like a butter knife and try it again. So let's look at how these numbers have changed. I'll see if I can find those same cards, the 1 and the 7 of strength. I think it's actually pretty noticeable, the difference here, especially in terms of the fist icon. And here we go. So you have the 1 and the 7 there. Actually, the 1, looking at this, the 1 didn't change all that much. It just got a little bit slimmer. I feel like elsewhere in the game, the 1 has a little line at the bottom, but perhaps not on the card itself. But there's another place where the 1 appears with a little line to make it even more clearly a 1. I think it's very clear that this is not a 7. If you look at the 7 by itself, sometimes from the wrong angle, it does look a little bit like a 1. One of the cool things I like about these cards, though, another product design choice, is that as the cards escalate from 1 to 13, the art changes. So 1 is a weaker card, and so it's shown a little bit weaker, starting to like power up once you get to the 7, and then once you get to the really high numbers, it gets really, really powerful. Like here's the 10, starts to look really, really powerful, and then the 13, the highest number, here's the 13. Looks super strong. So visually, the cards are representing their power levels based on the art and the number itself. Getting down in here to the, I haven't shown you the hero cards. The hero cards in the game, these are, over the course of the game, you'll keep these secret. You'll have 2 of these during the game where you'll be looking at the side of the card that just shows the round-to-round reference. Every player will have 2 of these. You only really need to look at 1. And then on the other side of them are all the heroes in the game. So at the end of the game, you'll choose from your 2 heroes and reveal yourself to be one of these heroes, one of the 2 that you have, and you'll get a very powerful ability at the beginning of round 5. But yeah, the player mat, so you can see that they do have the curved edges here on the part that opens up so that the curved corners end up on the exterior of this mat. Yeah, and that is, I think that's it for the main product design decisions that I can think of for Origin Story. I don't think there's anything else that comes to mind. That's pretty much, I didn't show you the event cards, but there's an event that happens in the middle of the game. This was more of a game design decision. How many events do we want in any individual game? And we thought it'd be more memorable and more distinct and less learning on the fly, because usually these offer like a temporary rule for round 3. If you just had one iconic event in the middle of the game. And many of them are based on iconic events from superhero fiction or comic book fiction. I think that's it. The rulebook is deep down in here. You really don't need to reference the rulebook all that much thanks to the reference cards. But yeah, actually, we did one little thing I mentioned in the rulebook is we wanted to recognize that many people know what trick taking is, and so they can kind of skip over. They can read what a trick taking over how trick taking works, but they could skim through it just to look for the main highlights. But we also know that not everyone knows what trick taking is. They might be new to it. This might be their first introduction to a trick taking game, or the first one in a while. And so we kind of have the core rule book, all the rules for playing Origin Story specifically, and then here in the rulebook we have a section specifically about how to play a trick taking game, what playing a trick looks like. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for showing the tales from production elements of Origin Story. If there's anything that I have shown you that I didn't go too deep into, I'm happy to talk more about it. This was a product that we were working on for a very long time, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions about it, and I'll answer in the comments below. Thanks.